You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt McGackie, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
Hey, what's up, folks? Thank you for tuning into this episode. A lot of the longtime listeners, when you clicked on this, you know exactly how much I'm fanboying out on this episode right now. I got to sit down with Teppei Teranishi of Thrice, who are quite literally my favorite band of all time. And that's a very easy thing for me to say. I've been saying it for years. They've had a massive impact on me musically. They might even be a big part of the reason why you're hearing this audio right now, is they just roped me so much harder into music with the things that they've created than any other band. And I know I'm a huge fan, and I know that a lot of listeners have reached out and explored their vast kind of catalog of different sounds because of this podcast, and that makes me very happy too. So anyways, we talk about something on this episode that's not exactly happy, and I won't spoil the details. I'll let Teppei tell you, but there was some gear stolen from them years ago. One of the most crucial pieces being Teppei's Black Les Paul. And if you're a Thrice fan, you probably know the exact guitar that I'm talking about. And while we were talking about it, we decided we should put the serial number out there. So if any listeners happen to come across a Black Les Paul custom that has this serial number, this belongs to Teppei. So the serial number is 824-85530. That's 824-85530. And I'm going to put it in the show notes. So hopefully, I know it's highly unlikely because it was stolen so long ago, that maybe this guitar can return to its rightful owner, because it's the only piece that he really misses from the collection. And for Thrice fans, it's a little bit of an icon. So hopefully this Black Les Paul custom can possibly, maybe make its way back to Teppei somehow. So just take a note of that serial number, and if you happen to see a Les Paul custom, especially if you're in California, it's not entirely likely that it left the state, but it's possible. Just keep your eyes peeled, and maybe it can return to its rightful owner. So anyway, without further ado and any more fanboying, let's get into the episode with myself, my good friend Jeston Porter, and Teppei Teranishi from Thrice. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, a show about guitar tone and the people behind it. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have my occasional co-host, Mr. Jeston Porter, and Teppei Teranishi from Thrice.
Hello.
How's it going, dude?
All right.
Been really looking forward to this for a long time. This is rad.
Cool. So, thanks, man.
Thanks for taking the time, and we're both massive fans. So
cool.
This is
I'm really trying not to fangirl right now.
So this is really cool for us.
And, right on. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on this.
Yeah, this is going to be a blast. So, you've probably given a lot of interviews where you've talked about your history and your backstory, and generally that's where I start with this show. But I feel like maybe we shouldn't rehash all of that again. We can just talk about the tour you guys are on right now, because this will be coming out during it. So, and Visu as an album is very important for both Jess and me. It was the moment when I went from being just a regular hardcore kid to, I was like, wait a minute, music can do other stuff too.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So this is a big one, but I don't know if you want to talk about the nuts and bolts of recording that, since we're on this tour right now, and how that process kind of came to be.
Yeah. You might have to pry it out of me just because I'm not very good at just talking on my own, but
no worries.
15 stinking years later, now we're trying to play the whole record in its entirety, plus all the B-sides, plus some other songs. And so this is night 2 of that tour. We had night 1 in San Francisco last night, It was a little rocky.
Yeah.
As to be expected.
It's totally understandable.
At least from us. Yeah, it's just one of those things where, not that we fell in, well, we did kind of fall into like a routine of playing a lot of similar songs on tours. You'd always you'd put out a record and then you tour around that, obviously.
Right.
And so there's always like the new songs that you're trying to throw into a set, and those are the ones that kind of throw you for a loop. And then it's nice to pad that with like the comfortable songs.
Right.
And so any first show of a tour is always going to be kind of weird, but this one is like almost the entire set is unfamiliar.
Yes.
And even the songs that we have been playing, like The Earth Will Shake, for example, is like a song that we play almost every time.
Yeah.
And like I think that's the third song. And so we got to that song, there's a song called Between the End and Where We Lie before that. And that was the first time we'd ever played it.
Oh,
was
wow.
Last night. Yeah, so tonight will be like literally the second time we've ever played it.
Oh, wow. All right.
And so like there was that song, we finished that and I was like, okay, nice, a comfortable song. But for some reason, like even just where that song was in the set, I guess, because we usually play it last.
Right.
And that was like pretty early in the set, and just like even that just felt weird. So
it was just not quite right.
Yeah, or just I don't know. I mean, it's just your headspace mostly, but yeah, just kind of thrown for a loop. But yeah, hopefully tonight will be a little better.
It's interesting to think about touring for something that came out so long ago, and since this is supposedly a gear podcast sometimes, did you change? Did you have to like go back to some of the stuff you were playing with back in the day to get some of those tones, or did you find new ways to achieve some of that?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, technology now has come so far.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Especially compared to 15 years ago. I mean, it seemed pretty exponential the last 5 years or so. It seems like, at least. So no, I think we didn't really have to go back to old gear or anything. I'm just running a Line 6 Helix or HX effects for the most part, and that pretty much has anything I need on there.
Of course.
And more, so yeah.
What were you using? Do you remember kind of what the rig was back in the day when you were doing some of that?
Maybe vaguely.
I know that's a rough question.
No, it's not. What I do remember, especially because there's a lot of it on this record, is the whammy pedal. Was it Digitech whammy? Yeah. I had a couple of those over a few years, just because I broke them.
Right.
But yeah, that was like a pedal that I was like, oh yeah, I used that a lot on this record. And so there's that. There was the Boss PS3 or something like that. Is the pitch shifter delay?
PS? Oh, right.
Is that the right model?
PS3 or
so.
PS6? I can't remember.
Something.
I feel like it's 3 because every time I hear somebody mention it, I'm like, oh, like PlayStation 3.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
That was like one that we used pretty heavily for a long time, and we called it the Cave-In pedal.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the band Cave-In.
Oh, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was like that spacey kind of like pitch shifty trail that they used a lot. And we toured with them pretty early on, and they were like a huge influence on us. And so
great band.
We were like, okay, we got to get the Cave-In pedal, and obviously we used it on a lot of stuff. And
you're able to find patches for that in the Helix?
Yeah, so for the Helix, it's like I think it's called the Octo synth or something like that.
I haven't messed with one too much.
No, Octo. No, it's not the synth. Octo
Swell or
Verb
something?
Or something.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not the best person for this stuff, to be honest. But yeah, it's something like that, where it's got this kind of, it's got, pitch shifted trails basically on a reverb.
Right.
And it's not exactly the same. And I actually did kind of entertain the thought of like getting one of those pedals for this, but yeah, it was easier just not to.
it keeps getting brought up so much, and I don't own one. I'm probably gonna have to buy one at some point because
the HX effects or the PS3.
Well,
that too.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to do that. But the listeners know, like on the internet and in the Facebook group that's associated with the show, I'm always like on the HX effects.
Yeah.
But not really. Like I say that to be a jerk on the internet, but like that's just because I'm a bedroom dork and I don't do anything besides play by myself in my glorified bedroom, basically. So I don't need one. And so I like can crank up things really loud in my shed, and
Yeah, I mean it does kind of like, in a way, it kind of kills the fun of like collecting pedals, and I mean looking down at your pedal board and seeing all these cool pedals and whatever. But it does make things a lot easier, especially in a live setting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
I can totally see the use for it. It seems to be a super user friendly type thing.
It is,
it's got so much in it that it's just like, why wouldn't you have one?
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like these days digital technology has just come so far that it sounds good.
It does.
And it, for me, it just really streamlines what I have to do live. It's just no more like pedal dancing, trying to hit like 5 different pedals at the same time. And you totally, or like trying to like hit 3 pedals at once with your foot all angled weird. Yeah, so it's made things a lot easier for me.
Yeah, and the reliability too. I mean, like I was just talking to Joey from The Used here not too long ago.
Oh, cool.
And
Joey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, super cool dude.
Yeah, Joey's our boy.
We talked about you a lot.
Oh, cool.
So,
Cool.
So that was fun. But yeah, he was like, we got to the segment where we were talking about his pedal board, and he's like, well, I know you're not gonna, because it's a Helix, and I'm like, I know I say that all on the internet all the time, but it's awesome. It actually is awesome. So
yeah,
it's cool. But I'm just a nerd, so. And I don't have to deal with these things. I don't like being professional. So that's a plus. So I remember, I think it was on Alchemy Index stuff. That was the stuff you guys recorded a lot on your own, right?
Correct, yeah.
And am I remembering correctly that you built some studio gear for that? Is that?
Sort of. It's a half truth, I guess. It's just like a kit.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I didn't like build anything from scratch or anything.
Right.
So I just literally just like paint by numbers,
Gotcha.
You follow instructions and you solder. But yeah, it's I don't know if they're still around. I haven't really paid attention to studio gear in a really long time. But it was a brand called Seventh Circle Audio.
Oh, that's right.
Are they still? Do you know if they're still around?
I don't know if they're still around. I actually think they are. It sounds like I heard about them recently.
Cool.
So
yeah.
They're probably still around.
Cool.
Studio gear is not my forte, but
okay.
I remember hearing about some of that stuff.
Right. Yeah, so it's just like they make their versions of reproductions of like really classic preamps and whatever. So yeah, I got some of those and just basically soldered things.
Yeah.
That wasn't that much. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. So your guitars over the years, you've had a lot of different ones and changed out, here and there.
Yeah.
And now you're with the Ernie Ball right now.
Yeah.
Tell me about that guitar. I want to know.
It's it kind of is changed for this tour, but it started off as a Valentine, the Family Reserve model. They did like this really beautiful sunburst kind of thing, with binding, and it's really like intricate neck that has block inlays and binding and everything. And we have been users of Ernie Ball strings for a super long time, like years. Mm-hmm. And they've always treated us super, super well, been really helpful with everything we've needed. So we've kind of been in that family for a long time. And then obviously through that, Dustin started playing their guitars, and it was just kind of natural that, they're like, hey,
how about you?
How about you? Yeah. And so they put that out, and I was like, well, that's a pretty cool guitar. And so I've been playing that. I actually just recently switched the neck out.
Oh.
It's kind of an interesting story. So the guitar, I got it and it sounded really good, obviously. And I put some Lawler pickups in it. So it's got an Imperial in the bridge, and then this like, it's like a one-off, what is it? Their Tele Special.
Oh, okay.
Neck pickup in a humbucker casing.
Sneaky.
Yeah, so I guess we can get back to that. But so that's in there. And it sounded really good, but it had kind of like this, I don't know how to describe it, like a tubbiness in the low end. Mm-hmm. It's weird. It almost sounded too fat sounding, which is really uncharacteristic, I think, of those pickups and also of that, what you would think I'm pretty sure it's an ash body.
Right.
So you would think that that's going to be pretty bright. Right? Am I correct in thinking that? Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
But anyway, it had this kind of like this fatness to it that like I wasn't super stoked on. It sounded really good, but I guess I'm just used to not like a thin tone, but like I like a nice mid-rangey kind of punchy tone.
Right.
And Ed was like, our bass player, he was like, what if you just tried swapping the neck out? Just because Dustin has a good amount of those Music Man guitars.
Right.
And he had a spare one. He's like, yeah, why don't you just take the neck off this one and try it? And I was like, okay, I don't think it's going to do that much, you know? But anyway, long story short, I swapped it out, put the neck on, and lo and behold, it sounded better.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so now it has like a full maple neck on there. The other one was like a maple and ebony, maybe, fretboard. Yeah.
I mean, it's it's a hot debate on the internet, about tone wood and how much it plays into things, and then you see people making guitars out of steel and acrylic and all this other stuff that also sound cool.
Yeah.
And I've always just thought that because I would talk to Matt from Mule Resonator Guitars. I don't know if you've ever seen those, but they're steel. He makes steel-bodied resonators, and then he recently started doing steel-bodied electrics too. And I was talking to him about this kind of same topic. It was like tone wood. Like I understand why different trees would sound different. They grow, they're organic, they do, what they have lives.
Yeah.
And I was like, what about steel and like all these man-made things? It would seem like it would be very uniform. And he's like, no, it's not. He's like, it seems like it should be, and it's fairly consistent, but every pour, there's no way that every pour is exactly the same when they do that stuff. And he's like, my guitars sound different between different instruments. And it's like,
yeah, it's kind of a mystery to me. I don't fully understand it.
I don't either.
And I've always been like, not like a naysayer, but like, I've always kind of been like, yeah, tone woods, whatever. I'm sure it makes a difference, but it probably doesn't make that much of a difference, and then especially in a neck.
Right.
And like literally as of a week ago, I'm maybe changing my tune about that. So yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I'm a machinist, so I work with metal a lot. So
yeah,
like you can get the same material, but if it's from a different batch, it can act totally different.
Right.
Like all of a sudden you're not breaking a chip, or you're going through tools like crazy, and it's like, oh, well, it's basically the same thing.
Well, I guess, I mean, in the end, metal's an organic material as well, even
That's
though
true.
like the
When you get
process
back
is
to
more
it.
of a man-made thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Ed, our bass player, again, he knows a little bit more about this stuff than I do. He actually builds his own basses.
Really?
oh, cool.
And so he was like, yeah, as far as I understand, has a lot to do with like connection points. Mm-hmm. Like, and which makes sense, like where the strings connect to the actual body and how each piece of the body fits to the other one, and just how well it like resonates, as a whole because of the connection points or whatever. And so he was kind of postulating that maybe this other neck just connected better, or in a way that I like more, you know what I mean?
That's possible.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to pinpoint because for years, I aesthetically wanted a white Les Paul Custom for a long time.
Yeah.
And I played them different ones in different shops, and I was just like, yeah, gross. Like I never liked them.
Really? Yeah.
And then finally one day I found the one, and it's like, why is this one different? I don't know. It just is somehow. It sounds better than all the other ones that were in my life and so
yeah,
it's weird.
It is, man. It's like voodoo. I don't know. It's like, to anybody else, it probably just sounds like we're bogus, but I think there's validity to it,
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of with anything, like when you get used to, when everyone has tools for whatever they're creating, and sometimes it's hard to put your finger on why exactly something is better or worse, and it's not, maybe better or worse is the wrong term. It's just not, like you said, not right for you.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of tone has to come from like the player, him or herself. So like, you know, maybe it's just that a particular guitar just makes you play a certain way, you know, that makes you strum the strings in a way that, I don't know, that something, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So,
yeah. The way, I mean, it's, you're right. It does start sounding like voodoo at some point.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also a very personal like connection with you and the instruments. So
that's like first time I picked up a resonator. It was like, I've never played like this before. What's going on?
Right.
Like, why am I playing like this?
Right. Yeah.
But it sounds cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I've got one guitar that I play. It was made by Jess and I's friend Kevin Equitz, and I play so weird on it. Like not. Like I just I change into a different person. Like,
really?
I'm like, why am I playing this way?
Right.
Like this swampy blues doom thing that I don't normally do. It doesn't make any sense. It's weird and not what you would think of with that guitar. But
yeah,
that's why how I justify myself. I keep buying them. It's like
I got to pull more things out of myself.
Yeah,
let me get another guitar.
It's not hoarding. It's collecting.
Yeah,
well, they all do something different, so I can't get rid of any of them.
Yeah. Oh boy. That's that old story.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I'm like, I kind of need to get rid of some. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Start running out of space
hard.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you've lived in a few different places now, and I was just curious, like how the music scene was different in California versus up in Washington, or did you notice much difference?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, not to sound like super jaded, but I don't like go to shows or, you know, pay that much attention to like the local music scene.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. And especially when we were in Washington, it was most of the time I was there was during our hiatus.
Yeah.
So we took a hiatus for a few years, and during that time I'd really kind of, not on purpose, but I'd step back from music quite a bit, and so I was hardly even playing.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. And plus it didn't help that I was literally on an island. So and I tried to leave as little as possible. So
I think it makes sense though, because of your lifestyle previous to that, you know, like the running around, the craziness. It's like, let's go to the island and make wallets. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have one in
Oh,
my bed.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
My wife got it for me for a Christmas present.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's the only wallet that I haven't lost.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I was just kind of hanging out on my island and enjoying my life.
Just chilling.
Yeah.
Just chilling.
So what drew you to leatherwork?
I don't know. I've always been into like making, just working with my hands, I guess. And I got into sewing for some reason. I started trying to like sew my own clothes and whatever. But that wasn't like, I couldn't really take that on the road with me, you know, because I wasn't going to bring a sewing machine and all that. But somewhere along the line, I figured out, if you work with leather, you can do most of it by hand. And you need relatively few tools to do it. And so I just bought a bunch of tools while I was on the road, actually, and started learning how to do it. And it just kind of snowballed from there into an actual like business. And I was actually doing that exclusively for several years. And actually, yeah, it's kind of crazy. But
so more like batches now?
It's really, really sporadic. Yeah, it's basically, I mean, so when we were on Vashon in Washington, it was, you know, I had a couple people working with me and it was like a full business. But once this started back up again, I decided to just kind of scale that back down so I can focus on music again. And so now it's just me basically doing it. I have a friend or two that'll help me out when I'm at home if I need it, but it's mostly me. And it's just me kind of doing it when I have the time to do it. So, which is not much.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it's super, super sporadic. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, they're all cool. So,
thanks, man. Yeah,
I dig what you do on that front too.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah. So I one thing I was curious about with you guys, and maybe it's changed album to album, like what is the writing process like? Does somebody like make the skeleton and bring it to the band, or what's it look like for you guys?
It's kind of all over the place, I guess. Any kind of way you can imagine writing something, but it's mostly we all kind of write individually on our own. So we'll just like any other musician, I'm sure, like you have ideas and you just want to jot that down real quick or something, but we'll just have a collection of little ideas or, little like audio clips or whatever that we've recorded on our phones. And usually in the beginning of any kind of writing process, we'll start pulling those together or putting them up online so that we can share it with each other. And just kind of like cherry picking things from each other, and maybe you'd hear an idea from somebody else and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, that might work with something I have, or you might be inspired to like expand on that somebody else wrote. But that's kind of like where the very basis of songs usually start, and then it's just us jamming in a room together too, a lot of it, and even stuff like we could just be practicing or something, and maybe Rise just starts to play a drum beat, and then somebody just starts like messing around over that, and we're like, oh, that's kind of cool, like record that real quick. Keep doing that. Exactly. Yeah. So it's all kinds of things. Yeah.
It all sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah. I think it's how anybody really does anything.
Yeah.
Or sometimes somebody will come in with like a pretty fleshed out idea. It all depends.
Does it ever? Because you guys have a pretty diverse sound. Because I talk about you guys a lot on the podcast, a lot of the listeners will message me and be like, I'm not familiar with that band. Where do I start?
Oh, that's cool.
And so it's like, I'm like, what are you into?
Right.
Because, Jess and I have been, since.
I first heard you guys right before Artist, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we went backwards. I think I came in about the same time.
Okay.
And then got caught up to Artist, and then have been along for the ride ever since.
That's cool, man. So, very cool.
So all of these songs mean something to me, and I when I get that, where do you start? I don't ever know where to direct people.
It's kind of like, well, what do you like to listen to? Because then we can start you with an album that's kind of like that.
That's cool. Yeah.
But is that, if you were somebody to say like, where should you start? What would you recommend?
I don't know. I probably just like start from what's current and maybe work backwards.
Okay.
But don't go too far.
That's fair.
Go too far. You can't go too far.
No, go all the way. All the way.
You gotta go. You gotta go all the way. My wife's favorite Thrice song is Phoenix Ignition.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Which is uncharacteristic of her.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, she doesn't usually go that aggressive. For some reason, she really likes.
There's a lot of teenage angst in that one.
Maybe that's what she resonates with. But it's a fun track. But
that's cool.
That's probably not a bad way. Start current and work backwards. That'd be the opposite journey of what we've experienced. But
right. Yeah. But I mean,
take.
Yeah, I think as like the person that's been a part of making it, I think you're always the most excited about the current stuff that you just did. So
of course
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is it surprising to you because I mean, it's pretty obvious that this has impacted a lot of people. Does it surprise you that it has hit people as hard as it does the songs that you guys wrote?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing. I can't really even fully wrap my head around it. Yeah. We're just thankful to be able to do it and that people actually care. Yeah.
Well, a lot of us care a lot. So.
Honestly, that's beyond me.
Yeah. I can only vaguely relate to that because I'm like, people listen to me talk for that long. Somebody was like, I listened to the whole. This was back when there was less episodes, but they listened to like 70 episodes in a month, and I was like, why would you do that to yourself? Like
the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me was I was at a guitar show in Portland, and a guy walked up and he's like, "Oh, hey, you're Jeston." I was like, well, "Yeah, but how do you know that?" Because I didn't even. He's like, "Oh, I heard you talk, and I recognized your voice."
Really?
I was like, "What? That's so weird."
That's wild.
That was Eric Morrow.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we're such a bunch of nerds. Like we meet up at NAMM, and
were you guys just there?
Yeah, we were.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done a listener meetup every year that I've been going anyway, and it's like last year This year was a little bit more low key because I wasn't even sure if I was going to do it. And then we ended up doing it. But like last year, it was like 100 people showed up.
Wow, really?
I'm weirded out by it because it's like, this is not familiar territory to me.
Last year was crazy.
Last year was nuts. But yeah, this year was a little more low key and kind of a spur of the moment thing. So
that's cool, man. Congrats. That's really cool. Yeah,
it was weird. I was like serving pizzas to people on the sidewalk. It was really, really bonkers.
That's rad.
It was a good time. Did you go down there?
To Nam?
Yeah.
No.
I seen Ed poking around at one point.
Yeah, Ed made it over. I try and avoid it for the most part. Yeah,
Have you ever been?
Yeah, a couple
that's
years.
probably why he tries to avoid it.
Yeah, it's just
it's insane.
It's insane. And it's just like overstimulation and
oh man,
too many people, too much noise, and yeah, it's a little too much for me.
Yeah, I totally get that.
It's literally too much for everyone. There's
Yeah.
not anyone that I know that goes to NAMM and is like, I'm fresh as a daisy afterwards.
Right,
Like, everyone's
yeah.
like, ugh.
It's mentally draining.
Yeah.
Just being there. Yeah.
Our flight left Sunday morning, and I was like, I bet I can make it to work on Monday. I was like, no, I'm taking Monday off. This is NAMM.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to work.
Yeah.
I remember it was a surprise. You took it off already, and then you were like, I'm going to have to go to work on Monday. And then you texted me like, I forgot I don't have to go to work.
Yeah.
Yay. And it was like, oh, good times. Man, this is a weird turn of the conversation. But hey.
Anyway.
So I like to ask this in a non-incriminating way of guys that have toured around a lot. And if you can remember anything that won't get anyone in legal trouble, what's the craziest thing you've seen on tour?
Whatever stories we have will be like extremely boring compared to most, probably.
That's probably a good thing.
Honestly, I can't even think of anything interesting. We're just so mellow,
Right?
and we don't really do anything that crazy. But I mean, I guess we've traveled around the world, and you definitely see stuff. Nothing that I can think of off the top of my head.
Has there been a particularly interesting country that like you're like, wow, I'm surprised XYZ is here, or something interesting that you noted?
We just went to the Philippines for the first time several months ago. That was really interesting, just because I'd never really been there, or I think that was the first time I was in Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So that was wild. If you thought the traffic in LA or Portland was bad, it is nothing compared to there. It's crazy.
Is it because there's so many people and not the great infrastructure, or what do you think?
I have no idea. We were only there for like less than 48 hours or something, so it was like in and out and play the show and fly out. So yeah, we didn't get to spend that much time there, but it was wild. It was cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you listen to these days for inspiration musically? Anybody?
This is also another one of those questions where I just go fully blank when I get asked this.
Yeah.
And I get asked it a lot.
Yeah.
So I should have it dialed, but I don't.
Here's maybe an easier way to go about it that was just presented to me recently on another podcast.
Okay, yeah.
You got your phone there.
Yeah.
Whatever streaming you use, if you use it.
What's the last thing?
Last song you listened to?
It's going to be probably... I've been on a jazz... here you go. Moanin' by Art Blakey. Yeah.
All right.
So I was going to say it's going to be a lot of jazz.
Nice.
I've been on like a jazz kick lately. I do this every so often. But yeah, I've been listening to a lot of jazz.
I actually got asked that question while I was down at NAMM. They're like, what have you been listening to lately? And I was just like, dude, I don't even know.
Yeah, right. I know. It's
a
weird
weird
thing.
thing.
Is like it's it's especially if you're really into music, it's just part of your life, and you're just kind of going about it without really thinking too much about it.
Yeah,
it's like
I don't think that much about it.
Yeah.
I just go, I'm in the mood for this, especially now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's I thought that was a fun. That's I don't know when that podcast is coming out, but for everyone listening, that was the Make More Music podcast.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's a good way. If I get asked that, I'm gonna pull my phone out and be like,
he was very specific with it, probably because he's thought about this for a while.
Or maybe it's just everybody says the same thing.
That could be. I don't know. you know.
Yeah. So, and then you can do the recent searches too.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Just Thelonious Monk and then Monin.
Oh, of course.
So,
Nice. Oh, you can't go wrong with Thelonious Monk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good stuff.
Oh yeah, he's
I'm not
genius.
even that into jazz, and I can turn that on once in a while.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Super unique style like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
very interesting stuff. So, your background like is, you know, obviously it's pretty diverse at this point, but like you guys kind of started out like skateboarding and doing the punk rock thing.
Yeah.
What would your teenage self think of the music that you're making now?
Oh, that's a great question. Probably boring.
Man, you guys are lame.
Yeah.
Think so? Really?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think the music we're playing existed now, really.
No. I just wondered if you could go back and play, you know, even this whole album for your teenage self.
I think I would probably think it's kind of cool, but it's not fast enough, or it's
Right.
not riffy enough, or something. You know? Yeah.
Not hard enough.
Yeah.
This is not Injustice for All.
Exactly. Yeah. There's not enough riffs. I don't know.
Yeah, that's funny. It's hard for me to pinpoint because, like I said earlier, Visu was a big turning point for me, where I started appreciating other things more.
That's cool.
And
yeah.
so, like, I know what my teenage self thought of it. you
Yeah,
know?
that's
It's like,
true. Yeah.
we drove up to. Well, this is kind of funny. We were here at this venue, and at the stairs they were saying pre-order the album and.
For Visu?
For Visu.
Oh,
And
really?
you can meet the band after the
It
show.
wasn't
Just like a
quite
high,
out yet.
you know.
I think it was like 2 weeks later.
It was
that
just a
came
couple
out.
weeks later that it came out. And so it was like, well, we're buying it anyway. Might
So
as well buy it
pre-order
now,
it,
you know,
yeah.
and meet the band. So we, you know, just a handshake thing or whatever.
Oh, that's cool. Was
And-
that on was Thursday Thrice tour? No,
That was you
no,
came
that
with
was
Under Oath.
Oh, Under Oath, right?
Yes. It was like right before they really blew up.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, because I think the record maybe came out during that tour.
I
did.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It-
Okay.
Yeah, it came out like
Because
right.
in my head that was a Visu tour.
Yeah.
But
It was
yeah,
when
okay.
you were. It was. I mean, yeah, I remember the first time I heard Music Box. So
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Rad. Cool.
It was,
It was awesome.
It's like,
Yeah,
whoa,
cool.
this is a different direction than I anticipated.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I just remember driving back. We had to drive to Portland to the only FYE that was around at the time.
FYE. Yeah. Okay.
FYE RIP. you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
And driving back in my beat up old wagon, and me and my friend and bass player was just looking at each other like, what are we hearing right now? Like,
Yeah, that kind of seemed to be the reaction from most people, which like obviously we got a lot of negative feedback right away, but we were kind of like, well, let's let people sit with it for a little bit. And you know, it seems like a lot of people did come around, which is really cool. It's cool that people didn't just write it off right away and they like kept giving it a chance and let it actually grow on them, you know.
I mean, yeah,
I think we were some of the few that were like,
We're
no,
like-
this is awesome.
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, some of
Yeah.
our friends were. I think as it kind of changes a little bit
Yeah.
in a weird way, at least me, because I was very much like seeking out, like when I would go to music stores and stuff, them through, and be like, that looks like it's gonna scream a lot. I'll probably like it, you know. And I was in that phase of life where it was just had to be aggressive. It had to be hard. I guess maybe not unlike your teenage self,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And so that one was like. And then it kind of made me go like, oh yeah, this stuff that I grew up with is actually cool too. You know, I grew up with a lot of country, and like I went back to appreciating that more instead
Sure,
of trying
yeah.
to find the hardest thing that I could find.
Kind of
Right.
reopen those doors.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
It was well, we pretty much were in from the get go. We're like, oh yeah, this is new and different, and
right on. Yeah.
we can still like that other stuff too.
And, you know, you got stuff like The Earth Will Shake, and that's still hard and aggressive. And
Yeah. Yeah. But
So
for
it
us,
had a
it
good
felt
mix.
like it was a different way of approaching heavy than we had in the past, at least. Yeah.
Do you know, like, this might be a difficult question to try to remember, like, was there a band that influenced that shift for you guys, or anybody in particular?
There's definitely bands. I mean, I think the biggest thing, I think the reason why there's such a jump between Artists in the Ambulance and Visu, and we've talked about this before, but I feel like in a way, Artists in the Ambulance was a little bit stunted in its growth.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were already listening to a lot of diverse bands, and I think we had pretty ambitious ideas already kind of brewing then, but we kind of locked ourselves into a schedule as far as like when we needed the record to be done. So we were like, okay, we need to be done writing at this time, then we need to record for this long, and the record's going to come out here, and then, you know, so we kind of pre-planned things and we caged ourselves in. And I think that it wasn't a fully like developed record in a way. And because of that experience, when we started doing Visu, we were like, okay, we're not going to do that this time. We're going to leave everything fully open-ended. We're going to let all the ideas flesh out as much as we need to. And so I think that record, like, we really kind of came into our own, I feel like. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's why there's such a jump there. But yeah, sorry, going back to your question. I don't know. I think there's a band called ISIS. Oh yeah, which is kind of an unfortunate name now.
Right. They were before it was bad. Huh? They were before it was bad.
Yes, yes. But they were like a really big influence on us early on, like with approaching heavy in not just like palm mutes and play fast, but like, you know, we were like, holy crap, this is like slow and kind of doomy and trancey, but it's so heavy and it's so sick.
Dense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Funny enough, I think his name's Aaron. The singer, guitar player, Hydra Head. Aaron.
Okay. Yeah.
He lived or still lives on Vashon Island.
Oh,
which
crazy.
is where I was, and it's a small ass community. Mm-hmm. And yeah, when I first moved there, I was like, "Wait, he lives here?" And I literally saw him once at the post office, and I was like too scared to say anything to him.
Hello. Hi.
But yeah, so I think he's still there actually.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
the music biz it's a weirdly, you know, especially going from me on the total outside to sort of being in this weird hybrid of in the gear community and now getting to talk to more musicians, which is fantastic. But it's like, so I interviewed Yvette Young from Covet.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And she's who we were in the van with, actually.
Oh, right on.
And so that was a really fun episode. But like when we were messaging and then you were like, oh, hit up Ken. I was like, oh, I already know Ken kind of.
Right.
Like, I don't know him, but like we've emailed before.
Yeah, because he's their manager.
Yeah. I was like, oh, well, this is easy. And so I emailed Ken and he was like, oh, hey, Blake, nice to hear from you again. But it's weird how small things really are.
Yeah.
And how much more connected. So like I'm starting to meet some people's managers. I'm like, you manage like 40 bands in some cases.
Right.
It's weird how interconnected things really are and how much smaller it is as a whole. And that's what I found out about the gear community too when I got into it.
Yeah, I think any kind of community is a lot smaller than you would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that with skateboarding too. Like
is it really?
Yeah, the whole skate world is so small.
Okay, so it seems like a big one.
Yeah.
It seems huge.
It's very small.
Like, hey, Tony Hawk.
Yeah, no, it's all very small.
Yeah. I'm guessing like a lot of the skate companies are probably like a lot of the pedal companies where it's like you outside looking in, it looks massive, and then you get to it and there's like one or two, maybe three people that work.
Totally, yeah.
That's
and some of them are a lot bigger than you think, but still, like the industry and the community itself it's really small,
tight knit. Yeah. This is a funny connection that I kind of forgot happened. I tried to be a skateboarder too back in the day, and I was okay at it, but I was a better snowboarder for some reason.
I couldn't even stand up on one. So.
But I got a lot of issues of slap, just like laying around.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And before I ever heard your band, I saw an ad in Slap.
We had an ad in Slap?
You had an ad in Slap.
Dude, I didn't know that.
It was for Identity Crisis.
Really?
Yeah, and I remember it, like, it just clicked in my head, like, plain as day. I don't know why, like, this is the moment that I decided to remember that, but it was like, it pretty much described it, and I was like, huh, that sounds interesting.
Was it like a review, or was it an ad?
No, it was an ad.
Oh, that's cool.
It wasn't just you. It was a couple
like
that were on the
Hopeless.
Yeah, it was Hopeless.
Subsidy,
yeah, and it was like just had the cover of the album and then like a brief blurb about it.
Dude, that's cool. I mean, me being a skate nerd, I'm like, that's cool to me.
I wonder if I can find it. I feel like I still have those.
That's the new highlight of Teppei's career.
It is, yeah. I made it now.
If I can find it, I'll send you it. I don't know where it is. I just know that I saw it in Slap.
Oh, that's cool.
And because it was the first time I was like, who's that? Just keep going. And then a few like really literally years later, like our mutual friend was like, he was like, have you heard this band? Put it in, and I was like, oh, I've seen them in a skateboard magazine.
Yeah, I've heard. That's rad. That's really cool.
So weird how the worlds blend together sometimes. So let's see. Where else can we go from here? We've talked about your... Oh, well, you know what we didn't talk about? Are you running the... excuse me. Are you running the HS effects with an amp or to front of house?
With an amp. Yeah, with an amp. So that model, I think, as far as I know, it doesn't have the amp modeling.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it did for some reason.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's the HX effect. So it's like taking basically what's the Helix platform or whatever you call it, and it's taking the effects portion of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm running that into a Vox AC30, and then it's running concurrently with a Supro Duotone, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the newer ones?
Yeah, one of the newer ones. So the story behind that is that I played an AC30 for a long time. And then again, it was like an amp kit. So,
okay.
Yeah. Just like, I forget where I got it, to be honest, but it was a Supro amp kit, and I made it in the back lounge of the bus, soldering in the back lounge of the bus, which was pretty fun. Like, it was like all the point to point, and like, you know, on a turret board and all that. But I made the kit, and I started using it, playing it through like a Mesa 212, and our sound guy actually loved it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so our gear, pretty much all our gear got stolen at one point, and that went with it. And so he was super bummed. And when they started reissuing those, I was like, oh, wait a second. Maybe I can just buy another one. So, yeah.
Sorry about that. I almost died, everyone. But we're okay.
Glad you didn't.
Cough attacks.
Dude,
those always seem to happen at the worst times.
Yeah, it happens when I'm podcasting quite often, as it turns out.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like, I can't even think of a scenario, but it's like when you're on a plane or something like that, and you're like sitting next to somebody that you don't know, and you're just like trying not to die, coughing. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh no, I mean, I'm not sick, and I haven't coughed
exactly.
in like 30 years,
exactly.
Now I'm going
In fact, I've never been sick ever, not in my life. Yeah, what are you talking about? So the Supro got stolen. That's where I died.
Yes, yeah, the Supro got stolen. Actually, along with all our other gear, at some point.
All of it, like
almost
all.
all.
Trailer or something.
No. So we had a storage spot. So we just like I don't know, just random. Can't think of any brands right now.
Storage facility.
Yeah. And we had a bunch of gear in there, like years and years worth of gear just piled up in there. The only gear that wasn't in there, luckily, was the stuff that was in our studio. So the stuff that we were actually like currently using was in our studio, but everything else was in that storage spot, including that Supra, which is what I used only when I took out on tour. And so that was in there. And the people next door to us somehow figured out that we had a bunch of gear in there, and probably figured out the fact that we wouldn't go in there for months at a time, because we would only hit it up when we needed to go on tour and whatever. And so we had actually accumulated like a ridiculous amount of like just junk in there. Like we literally had trash. Like, we would finish a tour and there would be trash, like merch boxes and whatever in the trailer. We'd just throw it in there, close the door, and go home.
Like, forget about it. We'll deal with that later.
Exactly. Yeah. And years of that. So we were like, you know what? We need to sell a lot of this stuff off. Let's like eBay a bunch of this stuff or something. And so we actually went there to go take inventory, and we rolled the door open, and it was swept clean. There was nothing in the stinking space. But it was so absurd that I was like, wait.
They even took the garbage.
Something's not right, but I was like, this isn't adding up. Like, did we have the keys to the wrong storage place? Like that doesn't make any sense. And I was like, maybe they cleared our unit out because we didn't pay the bills or something like that. Like, so there's an explanation for this. You know what I mean? But no, apparently the people next door broke down the drywall separating our spaces.
Oh.
Pulled all our gear into their space to unload it, and then rebuilt the drywall.
Whoa.
That's dedication.
Yeah, and then like literally in the process, it was literally swept clean.
Oh, wow.
And so they took all our trash too. So, but yeah, there was some cool stuff in there, like the banner that we had for Illusion of Safety that we used to like put in, you know, like the backdrop. I think the Artist in the Ambulance one was in there. I lost a lot of gear. And like literally to this day, there's things that come up and I'm like, oh, I used to have that. Oh, shoot. I don't anymore. You know, or like stuff that I forgot to claim on insurance too. Because there was just so much junk in there that I can only remember certain things. Yeah, and I'll be like, oh, crap, I didn't claim that.
Do you ever see any of it come up and like,
I'm waiting,
that
dude.
looks suspicious.
So there's literally one thing that was in there that I like really want to find again, and that was my black Les Paul.
Oh, so
custom. Yeah, so I don't know if you see like old pictures of me playing a black Les Paul. That was like my guitar that it was like my baby for years and years. And yeah, that thing's gone, and that's the only thing that like really meant something to me. And I have our guitar tech who had worked on the guitar gave me the serial number like a year ago. So I've been looking out for it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Hey, we're good people to put that out to. We have a lot of gear nerds that listen.
Dude,
to this,
yeah,
so.
I should hold on. I'll have to find it.
Yeah,
we can keep moving on. But
yeah, do it.
I just gotta say, I know that nobody listening to this podcast will, but if anybody thinks about stealing gear, just don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't
That
steal
sucks.
anything, really. But you're stealing somebody's livelihood, so it's not cool.
It's really not cool. Happens way too often.
Makes me so mad.
Yeah, it's a bummer. But you know what, though? To be honest, like it was one of those things where you always think like, what if this happens? You know what I mean? And it happened. And at the end of the day, I was kind of like, well, oh well.
Yeah.
You know,
worse.
Yeah, it's just in the end, it's stuff. It's stuff that could mean something to you, but it's just stuff, and you're still happy and healthy. So, you know,
so it's all good.
Yeah,
it's a good outlook.
I'm glad you brought that up because the guy that edits this podcast told me specifically to ask if that guitar made it back or not. So,
oh, really?
yeah.
No, man. I'm waiting for that day. I can't find the serial number right now, but I'll let you know.
When we put this episode up, we'll, you know,
okay.
We'll put it in the show notes.
We'll spread the word.
Dude, that would be insane if it came back.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. I'm seeing it happen more today. Stolen gear making it back.
Well, it's but
weird.
This has been like, it's been a while. I want to say close to 10 years.
I just want everyone who's listening to this that owns a black Les Paul custom that you bought secondhand to check the serial number, right?
Yeah, right? It's one of those guitars, too, that like even 10 years later, I still feel like if I were to hold it, I'd be like, this is my guitar.
Yeah.
This one. You know, like I know all the like
You know that
scratches.
guitar.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's weird how that happens. Like after a while, it's like, yeah, every dent. It's like, oh, I remember when that happened.
Yeah,
It's like,
totally,
I
yeah.
remember it, and like nobody else. It's almost like people wouldn't believe you. It's like, no, this is my guitar. This is my baby.
Yeah. I'd like to at least think so. If I were to see it and hold it, I'd know. But I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I would. I bet you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you would.
Yeah.
So that was that down in California where
Yeah.
it happened? Oh
Yeah.
man, bummer. Well, we'll try to keep our ears to the ground and see what we can do. But-
Awesome. Yeah. Right on.
So, moving on from all that sad stuff because it makes me sad inside. So you said you've been working with Ernie Ball. Like, what can we get a Teppei signature? Like, what's going on?
I don't know.
Let's talk.
Yeah, we're still early in that phase, so I don't know. We'll see.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I bounce around too much to like commit to something where I'm gonna have my name on it, but we'll see.
I understand that.
Yeah. This is like, this is one of the first tours I've done really without my Les Paul, so it actually feels weird. But yeah, and I actually left I have a Nash Telly.
Oh yeah,
That's like my new baby
those are sweet.
since my Les Paul's gone. And this is like one of the first tours I've done without that even being on the road. and that feels weird. It feels really weird.
Was that on purpose, or
a little bit? Yeah, that was one of those things where I was like, this guitar is like starting to mean a little too much to me now. I think I'm gonna leave it at home. I don't want to bring it out because things get really beat up on tour, and you never know. Like things get stolen on the road. Somebody actually stole that guitar off our stage once in Australia.
The Nash Telly?
That Nash Telly, yeah. And then our guitar tech got it back. Yeah.
I'm sure that was a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me, good sir.
Yeah.
That is not your Telecaster.
Exactly.
Oh, my mistake. I thought it was.
I'm sure it was very gentlemanly. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. They slapped each other with gloves and dueled over it, I'm sure. That's exactly how it went down.
Engaging fisticuffs.
Yes. All right, well, we're getting close to the last couple questions, and there's some classic questions that I want to get into. But right now, and this might be hard because I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but if there's anything you want to tell people, whether that's like come see you on tour, or if you have some message you'd like to leave with people, this is where I like
as deep or shallow as you want.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh.
This is your chance to put up a billboard and say whatever you want to say.
Oh man, I'm so bad at this.
Everyone is, don't worry.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if you've been a follower of our band for a long time and have been supporting us, thank you. Yeah, we're fully aware that we can't really do this without people's support, and so we're always very thankful for that. Yeah.
Awesome. That's perfect. All right, so this question is a newer question, but it's became very popular. People really like this one, and you may have already answered it earlier, but we'll see. But what is your favorite Boss pedal?
Boss pedal?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm going to say the PS3 or whatever that pitch shifter delay is called.
All right. And that's been a very common answer.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
A lot of people love that pedal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Cool. I didn't know how well known that was. It's a magical pedal.
This is what I was saying earlier that keeps coming up. I need to get one. So
I think I definitely had one, maybe even two, and that were stolen in that incident. Yeah.
Keep coming back.
And you
to
know
that.
what? Like I said, literally to this day, I'm like, oh, I didn't claim that on the insurance.
Mm-hmm. That's one.
There it is. Yeah,
Yep.
it just happened.
Sorry to keep reopening that one.
No, that's all right.
All right, this is the one that gets a little more controversial with people. It's about, I don't know, it's probably about as controversial as this podcast gets. So,
All right, let's go.
yeah, what kind of pizza do you like?
Oh snap! Neapolitan style pizza for sure, like authentic.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have some chef buddies in New York who are
that's a
like
good place to have chef buddies.
Yes, they're absolutely incredible at what they do. They have a few restaurants in the Lower East Side. One of them is called Contra. If you're ever in that area, you should definitely go. The other one's called Wild Air. It's literally next door.
Okay.
And it's incredible. They're both... It's the best food I've ever eaten, honestly.
Oh, man.
But anyway, so they paired up with this guy, Anthony... I don't know how to say his last name, so I don't want to butcher it. But he's like this Neapolitan pizza guru. And it used to be, I think, somewhere in New York, and then he moved to San Francisco and brought his business with him to San Francisco, and they brought him back to New York, and they reopened. It's called Una Pizza Napolitana.
Oh, I've heard of this before.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, and it's all natural fermentation, like no additive yeast or whatever. It's so basically it's like a sourdough pizza, super authentic wood-fired pizza, and it's so good.
Oh, man.
It's so good. So yeah, that's gonna be my pick.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go get some pizza after we're done with this because
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
We need to bring you back some. There's
you
a good
go.
spot around here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's called Checkerboard,
Okay.
and it's like very New York style.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, if it's not that, then I dig New York style. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting pizza because both Jess and I, we like our meats and stuff on it, and we went to it and we got, what was the style that we got?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know that there was like jalapeno and honey and some like prosciutto or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
think
that
that
sounds
was
fancy.
It was amazing. But the cheese slice.
Yeah, we got
was-
one of those
it
slices
was the
and a
best.
cheese, and we were like, man, this fancy one was good. but I wish I would have just got another slice
Dude,
of cheese.
simple always does it. Maybe I can retake my billboard thing. That's simple.
Simple always does it.
Man. Oh, that's like seriously the motto for my life. Yeah, it's similar with that Neapolitan stuff. Is I mean, I always like just like a good margarita pizza. So it's just like some good mozzarella, tomato sauce, and basil. But we asked them, we're like, hey, what's your jam here? You know, what should we order? And they're like, it's going to sound weird, but get the marinara, which is literally just tomato sauce. No cheese, nothing.
Really?
Yep. And it was delicious. And it sounds like I'm just saying that, but it's true. Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. This has been awesome.
Thanks,
It kind of flew by, but
yeah. Okay, good.
here we are. This was amazing. Thank you for taking the time and having us here, and I can't wait to watch the show. It's going to be
Cheers,
awesome.
man. Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. All right. For Teppei and Jess, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones.
It was awesome.
All right, we did it. Thank you for tuning in to this episode, folks. I really, really had a great time recording it, and it's a big thanks to all of you for downloading and tuning into this thing that even happened. So thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If this is your first time, welcome. I hope you dug it, and all of that jazz. So yeah, keep tuning in. We've got more rad guests coming up. And I want to put that Les Paul serial number out there one more time. It'll also be in the show notes. That is 824-855-30. So if you happen to come across a black Les Paul custom with that serial number, shoot an email to me, or you can DM Teppei, I'm sure, on Instagram. Either way, just make it happen. Email me at info@tonemob.com if you need to. Okay. I know a lot of you are tuning in right now, not just because you're Thrice fans, but because you may have seen a post somewhere that said you were going to learn how to win a pedal. The Trapper from Fender. It's a super versatile fuzz with a switchable octave on and off and 2 different modes of fuzz on it. It's really, really, really cool. And I want to give a big thanks to Fender for throwing that in for this episode. So, how are you going to win this thing? On Instagram, I will be posting a picture of Teppei playing this Les Paul for the episode announcement, along with the serial number. What I want you guys to do is to screenshot that and share it yourself with the hashtag #FindTeppei's Les Paul. So I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I've done crazier things for dumber reasons. So take a screenshot of my post, and the serial number will be listed in the comment again, and then let's say we'll give it a week and a half. Yeah, a week and a half from when this episode drops. Let's just go 2 weeks. Let's go 2 weeks from when this episode drops. I will randomly scroll through everyone who posts that, and with that hashtag, make sure you use that hashtag or I won't be able to find it. Hashtag #FindTeppei's Les Paul. And I will randomly select somebody just completely blindly, and they will win this fuzz pedal. So let's try to get this thing back to him. Let's have some fun with this. And yeah, let's find Teppei's Les Paul. All right. Okay, everybody. I'll talk to you next week. Let's do this thing. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately, and if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gunstreet as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gunstreet harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.